The invitation sat on my kitchen counter for 3 days before I finally opened it. Cream-colored paper, gold embossing, the works. The Martinez family reunion. Celebrating success together. I traced my fingers over the letters, feeling the slight rays of expensive cardstock against my skin. Of course they'd gone all out. They always did when it came to showing off. My phone buzzed. Another text from my mother. Olivia, please confirm if you're coming. Everyone will be there. Even Marcus is flying in from London. Marcus, my older brother, the golden child, the investment banker who could do no wrong. The one who'd gotten a full ride to Stanford while I chose to drop out of college to pursue my tech startup dreams. What a waste, Dad had said. We invested so much in your education, and you throw it all away for some pipe dream. I glanced around my modest one-bedroom apartment. The walls were bare except for my whiteboard covered in code and flowcharts. My desk was cluttered with 3 monitors, testing devices, and empty coffee cups. To them, this looked like failure. To me, it was the birthplace of something revolutionary. I typed back, I'll be there. The reunion was being held at the Crimson, downtown's newest luxury hotel. From the 40th floor, you could see the entire city skyline, including the massive digital billboard that had just gone up on Wesley Tower. The one that would be lighting up with my company's name in exactly 4 hours. But they didn't know that. They didn't know anything about what I'd built over the past 5 years. As I got dressed for the reunion, I thought about the last family gathering. Christmas, 2 years ago. Marcus had just closed his first major deal. Dad had brought out the expensive scotch, made a toast, to my son, carrying on the Martinez legacy of excellence. I'd sat quietly, picking at my food, knowing that in my laptop bag was the first prototype of what would become Neurotech's breakthrough neural interface software. The same software that would later attract $80 million in Series B funding and revolutionize how people interact with technology. The same software they dismissed as playing with computers. I chose a simple black dress for the reunion. No designer labels, no flashy jewelry. Let them think what they always thought, that I couldn't afford better. I pulled my dark hair into a neat bun, applied minimal makeup, and grabbed my car keys. The same old Toyota I'd been driving since college. Another point of family ridicule. The drive to the Crimson gave me time to think. About the days I'd spent coding until my eyes burned. About the nights I'd slept on my office floor because I couldn't afford both rent and server costs. About the investors who turned me down, one after another, until that breakthrough meeting with Sarah Blackwood at Venture Capital Partners. This is the most innovative interface design I've seen in a decade, she'd said, actually understanding what I'd built. We're in. All in. The hotel lobby was already buzzing with Martinez family members when I arrived. Cousins in designer suits, aunts dripping in jewelry, everyone competing to be the most successful, the most impressive. Olivia. My mother's voice carried across the marble floor. She air-kissed my cheek, her eyes doing their usual quick assessment of my appearance. We were worried you wouldn't make it. You're always so busy with your computer thing. My computer thing. The company valued at over $80 million. The technology that major tech publications were calling the future of human-computer interaction. But sure, my computer thing. Wouldn't miss it, I said, following her to the elevator. The 40th floor was even more opulent than I'd imagined. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city. Crystal chandeliers caught the late afternoon sun, sending rainbow reflections across the white tablecloths. And there, through the western windows, stood Wesley Tower. The billboard was dark now, but in 3 hours and 27 minutes, everything would change. "Little sister." Marcus's voice boomed across the room. He strode over, expensive watch glinting, confidence oozing from every pore. "Still rocking the same dress from last year. Some things never change, huh?" I smiled, remembering the email I'd received that morning. The one confirming Neuratech's IPO date. The one predicting our stock would open at $150 per share. "Some things do change, Marcus. More than you might think." Dad joined us, scotch in hand. Marcus just closed another major acquisition, $200 million in assets. "That's how you build real wealth, Olivia. Not with," he waved his hand vaguely, "websites or whatever it is you're doing." I checked my phone. A message from my CTO. "Billboard test successful. All systems go for the big reveal." Perfect. The family gathered for dinner. About 40 of us around a massive table. Marcus, naturally, sat at Dad's right hand. I was relegated to the far end, between Cousin Maria, who just opened her third failed boutique, and Uncle Robert, who still thought Facebook was cutting-edge technology. The bragging began immediately. Marcus dominated, of course, detailing his latest conquests in the financial world. Cousin James talked about his new Mercedes. Aunt Sophia showed off pictures of her daughter's wedding to a minor European royal. Then the spotlight turned to me. "So, Olivia," Marcus called out, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Still living in that rented apartment? What's it been now? 5 years?" Most people would have something to show for all that time. The room grew quiet. All eyes turned to me. Some sympathetic, most judgmental. They were waiting for me to stammer out excuses, to defend my choices, to explain away my apparent failure. I checked my watch. Perfect timing. "Actually, Marcus," I said, standing slowly, "why don't you look out the window? The one facing Wesley Tower." He frowned, but turned in his chair. Others followed his gaze. The billboard flickered to life. In brilliant blue and white, 50 feet tall, my company's logo appeared. Neuratech. The future is neural. Below it, scrolling news headlines. Neuratech revolutionizes human-computer interaction. Tech startup valued at $80 million prepares for historic IPO. CEO Olivia Martinez, named to Forbes 30 under 30. The silence in the room was deafening. I stayed standing, watching their faces as realization dawned. Marcus's jaw actually dropped. Dad's scotch glass froze halfway to his mouth. Mom's perfectly maintained composure cracked. "That's my company," I said quietly. "The one you called a waste of time. The one you said would never amount to anything. The one that's about to go public with an estimated market cap of over $1 billion. But you live in a tiny apartment," Marcus sputtered. "You drive a Toyota." I smiled. "Because I invested every penny back into the company. Because I believed in building something real, not just showing off wealth I hadn't earned yet." Dad stood up so quickly his chair scraped against the floor. "Olivia, why didn't you tell us? Would you have listened?" I asked. "Or would you have tried to take control, like you did with Marcus's first business? Would you have actually understood what I was building, or just seen dollar signs?" The billboard continued its display, casting blue light across their shocked faces. My phone started buzzing. Notifications from tech news sites picking up the IPO announcement. LinkedIn messages flooding in. Twitter exploding with the news. But I wasn't done. Not yet. This was just the beginning of what I had to show them. The silence that followed felt like a physical thing, heavy and thick in the air of that luxurious hotel room. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Congratulations from investors, interview requests from tech journals, messages from employees celebrating our impending IPO. But my eyes were fixed on my family's faces, watching the spectrum of emotions play across them. Marcus recovered first, his banker's instincts kicking in. 80 million, he said, trying to sound casual but failing to hide the strain in his voice. That's impressive. But valuation isn't the same as actual revenue. How much are you really making? I pulled out my tablet, opened a file. Last quarter, 22 million in pure profit. This quarter's projections are even higher now that we've signed exclusive contracts with 3 major tech companies. I slid the tablet across the table. Feel free to verify the numbers. I know how much you love due diligence. He grabbed it, started scrolling frantically. Dad leaned over his shoulder, their heads close together as they examined the financial reports. I could see the moment they hit the projected IPO numbers. Both of their faces went pale. But you never said anything, Mom whispered from across the table. All these years we thought. You thought what you wanted to think. I cut in, keeping my voice level. You saw me working from a small apartment and assumed I was struggling. You saw me driving an old car and decided I was failing. Not once did any of you actually ask what I was building. Aunt Sophia cleared her throat. Darling, you can't blame us. Tech startups are so risky. Not like real estate or banking. I laughed, not bothering to hide the bitterness. Risky? Let's talk about risk. Let's talk about how Marcus's last 3 sure thing investments lost money. Or how Cousin James's hedge fund is under SEC investigation. Yes, I know about that. James choked on his wine. Or should we discuss Uncle Robert's failed attempt to expand his business overseas? The room grew even quieter, if that was possible. I took a risk, yes, but I did it smart. I lived below my means. I reinvested every profit. I built something sustainable while all of you were buying new cars and vacation homes to impress each other. Dad finally looked up from the tablet. Why now? Why reveal all this at the family reunion? I walked to the window, gestured at the billboard still glowing against the darkening sky. Because tomorrow morning, when the markets open, everything changes. Neuratech goes public. And I wanted you all to hear it from me first, in person, so you could understand exactly what you've been mocking all these years. My phone buzzed again. A message from Sarah Blackwood. Major tech news outlets picking up the story. Get ready for a crazy week. The real question, Marcus said, his voice taking on that smooth, practiced tone he used for business deals, is how we can get involved. As family, surely there's an opportunity for some pre-IPO shares, or... No, the word came out sharp, definitive. Several people flinched. This isn't a family business. This is my company, built with my ideas, my work, my sacrifices, the same ones you all laughed at. Remember last Christmas, Marcus, when you said I was playing entrepreneur while you were doing real business? He had the grace to look embarrassed. Or you, Dad, when you told everyone at Thanksgiving that I was going through a phase and would eventually come to my senses and join Uncle Robert's company. Dad set down his scotch glass, hands not quite steady. Or you, Aunt Sophia, when you suggested I was hiding from real responsibility by starting my own business instead of getting married like your daughter. The room was so quiet you could hear the ice melting in the drinks. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app. Would you like to know how much I'm worth right now, before the IPO, before the stock goes public? I turned the screen toward them. The number had 8 digits before the decimal point. Several people gasped. Cousin Maria actually dropped her fork. But that's not even the best part, I continued, switching to my email. Would you like to know who our biggest clients are? The companies that are already using Neurotech's interface systems. I started reading names. Major tech companies, Fortune 500 corporations, government contracts. With each name, I watched their expressions shift from shock to something else. Realization, understanding of just how badly they had underestimated me. And tomorrow, I said, putting my phone away, when the opening bell rings on Wall Street, that number in my account, it's going to add a few more digits. Marcus stood up, straightening his tie. Olivia, look, maybe we got off on the wrong foot. As your brother, I could offer some valuable insights about managing this kind of wealth. My experience in banking. Sit down, Marcus, I said quietly. This isn't a negotiation. This isn't an opportunity. This is me showing you what I've built, despite all of you, and making it clear that none of you will be part of it. But we're family, Mom protested. Family? I turned to face her. Was it family when you told your friends I was finding myself instead of admitting I was running a company? Was it family when Dad excluded me from the holiday card because my career choices didn't fit the family image? The billboard outside flickered, cycling through more headlines about Neurotech's innovations. The blue light cast shadows across their faces, highlighting every flinch, every grimace. Tomorrow morning, every major news outlet will be running stories about Neurotech, about our technology, our growth, our future, about me. And not one of those stories will mention the Martinez family, because you chose not to be part of this journey. You chose to mock it instead. I picked up my purse, getting ready to leave. But I had one more thing to show them. Oh, and that rented apartment you all love to joke about. Look at this. I pulled up another email on my phone, turned it around so they could see the attached image. It was a purchase agreement for the penthouse of the city's most exclusive residential building. The price made several people audibly gasp. I close on it next week. I could have bought it months ago, but I wanted to wait, to prove something to myself and to all of you. Prove what? Dad asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. That success isn't about showing off. It's about building something real, something lasting, something none of you believed I could do. The room erupted in voices, questions, protests, sudden offers of support and congratulations. But I was already walking toward the door. Enjoy the rest of the reunion, I called over my shoulder. I have a company to run. As the door closed behind me, I heard the chaos break out in full force. The accusations, the arguments, the desperate attempts to make sense of what had just happened. But I was done listening to them. I had bigger things to focus on. Tomorrow was going to be interesting. The morning of the IPO, I woke up before my alarm. The sun wasn't even up yet, but the city was already humming with energy. Or maybe that was just my own anticipation making everything feel more alive. I stood by my apartment window, coffee in hand, watching the first hints of dawn touch the Neurotech billboard. My phone had been buzzing nonstop since I left the reunion. 57 missed calls from family members, over 100 text messages, emails, LinkedIn requests, even a few desperate attempts to reach me through my company's official channels. I ignored them all. Instead, I opened a different message. One from Sarah Blackwood, sent late last night. Trading floor is electric with pre-market buzz. Your story is everywhere. Ready to make history? I smiled, remembering the day she first believed in my vision. When everyone else saw a girl playing with computers, she saw the future. Now, 5 years later, we were about to prove every doubter wrong. My personal assistant, Maya, arrived at 6:30 a.m. sharp. Cars waiting downstairs, she said, handing me a fresh coffee and a tablet displaying the morning's news headlines. Every major network wants an interview. The Wall Street Journal's piece about you is trending worldwide. I scanned the headlines while we rode the elevator down. Neurotet IPO set to break records. From dropout to tech pioneer. The Olivia Martinez story. Silicon Valley's next big thing goes public. The car was barely moving through the morning traffic when my phone rang. Dad. The 7th time he tried calling since dawn. This time, I answered. Olivia, he started, his voice uncharacteristically uncertain. We need to talk about yesterday. I'm a bit busy right now, Dad. About to take my company public. That's exactly what we need to discuss. The family has concerns about. The family's concerns stopped mattering the moment you all decided I wasn't worth supporting. I cut in. I have to go. The opening bell waits for no one. I hung up as we pulled up to the stock exchange. Camera flashes started immediately. Reporters called out questions. This was it, the moment everything changed. Maya touched my arm. Your brother Marcus is here, trying to get past security. Of course he was. The banker in him couldn't resist a major market event, especially one that would make his little sister worth more than the entire extended family combined. Let him watch from the public area, I said, but he doesn't get anywhere near the trading floor. The next 2 hours were a blur of handshakes, interviews, and final preparations. Then, at 9:29 a.m., I stood on the platform above the trading floor, the ceremonial bell in front of me. Screens everywhere showed Neurotech's logo, our ticker symbol ready to go live. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Mom. Please, sweetheart. The family needs to be part of this. Your father's reputation. I turned off the phone. The countdown began. 10 seconds. I looked out over the crowded trading floor, spotted Marcus in the public viewing area, his face a mix of awe and barely concealed envy. 5 seconds. Somewhere in the crowd, I heard someone shout. That's her, the one they called a failure. 3, 2, 1. The bell rang. The screens exploded with numbers. Our opening price, $180 per share, already higher than projected. The trading frenzy began immediately. Within minutes, the price jumped to $220. Sarah appeared at my side, grinning. Congratulations, billionaire. I blinked. The numbers were still climbing. $240, $255. My net worth was increasing by millions with each passing minute. Ms. Martinez, reporters called out. How does it feel to be one of the youngest self-made billionaires in tech? I stepped to the microphone, thought about all the family dinners where I'd been dismissed, all the reunions where I'd been the cautionary tale. Success isn't about proving others wrong, I said. It's about proving yourself right, about believing in your vision when no one else does. The trading continued. By lunch, Neurotech's stock had stabilized at $275 per share. My phone, when I finally turned it back on, had exploded with messages from financial advisors, wealth management firms, and of course, family members. One email caught my eye, from Uncle Robert. "I always knew you had potential. Perhaps we could discuss some investment opportunities." Delete. Another from Marcus. "Little sister, you've certainly proved your point. Now let's talk about how the family can support your success." Delete. Late that afternoon, I finally left the stock exchange. The city felt different somehow, or maybe I was the one who had changed. Maya met me at the car. "Your new penthouse is ready. Would you like to see it?" I nodded. We drove uptown, past the building where my family had gathered just yesterday. The billboard still shone bright. Neurotech. The future is neural. But now it also displayed our stock price, a public reminder of what I'd built. The penthouse was everything I'd dreamed of. Spacious, modern, with views that made the city look like a painting. But I didn't want to fill it with expensive furniture or flashy art. Instead, I'd had one wall converted into a massive whiteboard. Another held 3 large monitors, a dedicated space for creating, for building, for continuing what I'd started. "Your father called the office again," Maya said. "The family is having an emergency meeting tonight. They're worried about implications." I walked to the window, looked out over the city I'd conquered. Let them worry. Let them finally understand what they missed by underestimating me. And the interviews? Everyone wants to know the story behind Neurotech's success. I smiled, thinking about all the young entrepreneurs out there, all the dreamers being told they're wasting their time. Schedule them, but make sure they understand. This isn't a story about revenge. It's about vision, about believing in yourself when no one else will, about building something real while others are busy showing off things they haven't earned. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Sarah. "Board meeting tomorrow. Time to plan the next chapter." I replied immediately, "Ready when you are." Because this wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning. I had more to build, more to create, more to prove, not to my family, but to myself. Let them have their reunions, their shallow displays of wealth, their desperate attempts to maintain their image. I had work to do. Real work, the kind that changes the world. And maybe, just maybe, the next time someone tells their daughter she's wasting her time chasing dreams, they'll remember my name. Remember the girl they called a failure. Remember what happens when you underestimate someone who refuses to give up. Remember that success doesn't always look like what you expect it to. Sometimes it looks like a quiet girl in a simple black dress, standing in a room full of people who thought they knew better, proving them all wrong with a single glance out the window. Sometimes it looks like me.